My Weirder-est School, book number 3. Dr. Floss is the Boss. Written by Dan Gutman. Pictures by Jim Pelot. Chapter 7. Open wide and say ah. National Dessert Day was winding down. It was almost time for dismissal. Okay, finally we can get some work done, said Mr. Cooper. Turn to page 23 in your math books. And you'll never believe who poked her head into the door at that moment. Nobody. If you poked your head into a door, you might chip a tooth, and it would hurt. Didn't we go over that in chapter 3? But you'll never believe who poked her head into the doorway. It was Dr. Floss, of course. Is it 2:30 yet? She asked. 2:30? Mr. Cooper rubbed his forehead. I have more free stuff to give away, Dr. Floss announced. Yay! Everybody shouted, because everybody loves getting free stuff, even though our parents pay for everything anyway. I figured that Dr. Floss would be giving out free skateboards or footballs or something cool like that, but instead she passed out toothbrushes. Bummer than the summer. She also passed out these teeny tiny tubes of toothpaste. I guess they're for brushing teeny tiny teeth. These are just souvenirs, Dr. Floss told us. Don't brush your teeth with them. Remember, if you brush your teeth, you won't get cavities. And if you don't get cavities, you won't need me. And if you don't need me, I won't be able to buy a new car. You're just joking about that, right? Asked Andrea. You really want us to brush our teeth, don't you? That's for me to know and you to find out, Dr. Floss replied. But wasn't National Dessert Day fun? Yes, shouted all the girls. No, shouted all the boys. There's just one more thing I need to do before you kids leave for the day, she told us. What? Look in your mouth, she said. I can't look in my mouth, I said. It's part of my head. No, I need to look in your mouth, said Dr. Floss. Oh, that's different. Dr. Floss had us all line up. She gave each of us a little tablet to chew on. She said the tablets had vegetable dye in them, so she would be able to see if we have a lot of plaque on our teeth. I hope you kids have lots of plaque and some nice cavities, Dr. Floss said as she passed out the tablets. If you do, I may ask you to come to my office after school today. Tell your moms and dads to bring their checkbooks and credit cards because it's going to cost them a lot of money. New cars are expensive, you know. I chewed the tablet. It tasted kind of bitter. I've never had a cavity, bragged Andrea, who has to be the best at everything all the time. Dr. Floss said Andrea could go first. Open wide and say ah. Ah, said Andrea. Dr. Floss took a little flashlight out of her pocket and looked around in Andrea's mouth with a stick that had a little mirror on the end. You have a lovely mouth, Andrea, she said. No cavities in here, darn it. I knew it, said Andrea. Dr. Floss gave her a lollipop. If you eat enough lollipops, Dr. Floss told Andrea, you'll get a mouth full of cavities. No fair. I wanted a lollipop. Next it was Ryan's turn. Dr. Floss looked in his mouth with a little mirror. Ah, you have a beautiful smile, Ryan, she said, and gave him a lollipop too. Thank you, Ryan said. Next it was Neil's turn. Dr. Floss looked in his mouth. Then she took out her wallet and pulled out $1. "Here's $1, she told Neil as she handed him the bill and a lollipop. "Thanks," Neil said. "But why are you giving me $1? "Because you have buck teeth," said Dr. Floss. "Get it? Buck teeth? $1? That's a dental joke." Everybody laughed, even though she didn't say anything funny. Next, it was Alexia's turn. Dr. Floss looked in her mouth. Clean as a whistle, no cavities, Dr. Floss said as she handed Alexia a lollipop. Those lollipops looked good. Next, it was Michael's turn. Dr. Floss looked in his mouth. No cavities here, darn it, said Dr. Floss as she gave him a lollipop. "You kids need to eat more candy and junk food. You don't have any cavities. It looks like I won't be able to buy a new card after all." After 1,100,000 minutes, finally it was my turn. Dr. Floss looked in my mouth. I said. Said Dr. Floss. What does mean? I didn't like the sound of is a terrible word. "What is it?" I asked as Dr. Floss looked inside my mouth. Said Dr. Floss again. Ryan was looking at me. Michael was looking at me. Andrea was looking at me. Everybody was looking at me. Nobody was saying anything. It was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. That is, if anybody had pins with them. But why would you bring pins to school? That would be weird. "AJ," Dr. Floss finally said, "can you ask your mom or dad to bring you to my office after school today?" She handed me a business card. "No!" I shouted. "I don't want to die." "Don't be silly," said Dr. Floss. "I just want to examine your teeth a little more carefully." "Well, okay," I agreed reluctantly. "Can I have a lollipop?" "I think you've had too many lollipops already, AJ," said Dr. Floss. It wasn't fair. I was going to die and I didn't even get a lollipop. This was the worst day of my life. Chapter 8. Good news and bad news. When my mom picked me up after school, I gave her the business card and told her what Dr. Floss said. "This could be an emergency," my mom said as she hit the gas. "Let's go to her office right now." This was the worst thing to happen since TV turned off week. I wanted to go to Antarctica and live with the penguins. I'll bet $1,100,000 that penguins never have to go to the dentist. But I'm no dummy. I reached into the back seat of the car and put on my football helmet. "AJ, why are you wearing your football helmet?" Mom asked me. "The dentist won't be able to get into your mouth with that face guard in the way." "Exactly," I said. It didn't take long to drive to Dr. Floss's office. Mom made me leave my football helmet in the car. That's when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. When we walked into the waiting room, there was a bowl of candy on the table and a bunch of cool toys and a video game system hooked up to a big screen TV. It was paradise. "This place is cool," I told my mom. "Can I live here?" Mom said I could play a video game while she talked with the receptionist. I told her to take all the time she needed. I was just about to press the start button when "Dr. Floss will see you now, AJ," said the receptionist. "Bummer in the summer." "I'll be right here waiting for you," my mother told me. "Come in with me, Mom," I said. I'm scared. You're a big boy, she replied. I'll be right here when you're done. The receptionist walked me down a long hallway. I felt like one of those prisoners being taken to jail. Finally, we got to a little room. Dr. Floss wasn't there. Hi, AJ, she said cheerfully. It's nice to see you again. I looked around the room. It was scary. There was a dentist chair with a big light hanging over it and all kinds of dentist tools. Then I looked on the windowsill. There were a bunch of pliers lined up there. Ah! I shouted. Is that what you use to pull out people's teeth? Oh no, that's my collection of antique pliers, Dr. Floss said. Remember this morning I told you that I collect old tools? Oh yeah. I looked around the office some more. In the corner, leaning against the wall, was a giant jackhammer. Ah! I shouted. I thought I was gonna die. Is that what you use to drill people's teeth? Of course not, said Dr. Floss. Remember this morning I told you I like doing road work? I thought that meant you like to go jogging. No, silly, she told me. In my spare time, I work on the roads. That's weird. Well, at least she wasn't going to stick that thing in my mouth. Take a look at this, AJ, she said, holding up a set of teeth and gums. Then suddenly the teeth started chattering. Cool, I said. What do you call that? My last patient, replied Dr. Floss. Ah! I shouted. Just kidding, said Dr. Floss. You're so jumpy, AJ. I don't like going to the dentist, I admitted. There's nothing to be afraid of, she told me. Here, sit in the chair. It's really comfortable. I sat in the big chair, and it was comfortable. That's when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. Dr. Floss pulled a seat belt across my waist and clicked it shut. Ah! I shouted. What are you doing? You should always wear your seat belt, she told me. That's in the car, I shouted. Mom, help! Get me out of here! Just relax, AJ, Dr. Floss told me. It was probably a soundproof room. That way, the parents in the waiting room can't hear Dr. Floss torturing kids. She pushed a secret button to lean the chair back. I was looking at the ceiling now. And you'll never guess in 1,100,000 years what Dr. Floss had up on the ceiling. It was a TV screen. Cool. There was some cartoon playing on the TV. Dr. Floss put on a pair of rubber gloves. Ah! I shouted. Not the gloves. In the movies, bad guys always put on gloves before they steal something or murder somebody. That way, they don't leave fingerprints behind. Shh, she said, sticking the big light in my face. You just watch the cartoon while I look inside your mouth, AJ. Open wide. No, I said. AJ, I can't work on your teeth if you don't open your mouth. I know, I told her. That's why I'm not opening it. Don't be a baby, AJ. You probably just have one tiny cavity. Open up. No. If I didn't open my mouth, Dr. Floss couldn't look inside it. And if she couldn't look inside it, she couldn't examine me. And if she couldn't examine me, she wouldn't know for sure if I had a cavity. And if she didn't know for sure if I had a cavity, she couldn't drill my teeth. So I wasn't going to open my mouth. Here, she said, handing me a rubber ball. Squeeze this chess ball. It will help you relax. I squeezed this chess ball, but felt just as much stress as I did before. I kept my mouth shut and crossed my arms in front of my chest. When you cross your arms in front of your chest, it means you're not going to do what somebody wants you to do. That's the first rule of being a kid. Well, said Dr. Floss with a sigh, I guess I'm just going to have to pull out all your teeth just to be on the safe side. What? While I was saying what, Dr. Floss grabbed my upper and lower teeth and pulled them apart. Dr. Floss is the boss, she said, peering into my mouth. Saya. I said. Dr. Floss whistled while she looked around inside my mouth. What kind of car are you going to buy? I asked. Oh, it depends, she replied. If you have a lot of cavities, I'll buy a limousine. But if you only have one tiny cavity, I'll probably get a little Not again. That can't be good. What do you see? I asked. Not enough, replied Dr. Floss. I'm going to shoot an X-ray to help me see better. What's that? I asked. It's a picture of your tooth, she told me. I call them toothpicks. Get it? Toothpicks? Toothpicks? That's a little dental joke. I didn't laugh. Her jokes were terrible. Dr. Floss took something out of a drawer. Here, she said, bite down on this cookie. Cookies? I love cookies. I opened my mouth and bit down. It wasn't a cookie. It was some yucky plastic thing. I thought I was gonna throw up. Just keep biting down, Dr. Floss told me. Sit still. I'll be in the next room for a moment. Are X-rays dangerous? I mumbled, keeping that thing in my teeth. There's nothing to worry about, she said as she left the room. X-rays are harmless. Then why are you hiding in the next room? I mumbled. Dr. Floss didn't answer. There was a little beep, and she came back and took the plastic thing out of my mouth. Then she put it in a machine for a few minutes. The machine must have developed the X-ray, because she put it up on a box with a light in it, and I could see a picture of my teeth. Dr. Floss looked at it for like 1,100,000 seconds. AJ, she finally said, I have some good news and some bad news. Uh-oh. Anytime a grown-up tells you they have good news and bad news, the news is always bad. That's the first rule of being a grown-up. What's the good news? I asked. I'm not going to tell you. What? Okay, I'll tell you, Dr. Floss said. But you have to read the next chapter, so na-na-na-boo-boo on you. Chapter 9. Swish and Spit. Okay, I said after we started the new chapter. What's the good news? The good news, Dr. Floss replied, is that an elephant is not going to charge in here and sit on you. What? That's good news. It never even occurred to me that an elephant would sit on me. What's the bad news? I asked. As I suspected, said Dr. Floss. One of your teeth has a tiny cavity in it. No! I shrieked. Not that! My life is over. One little cavity isn't a big deal, AJ, she told me. I can fix that in a jiffy. You're going to put my tooth in peanut butter? I asked. No, silly, she told me. I'll clean out the cavity and put a filling in the tooth to fill the hole. No! I shouted. That sounded horrible. I tried to make a run for it, but the seatbelt held me back. Lots of kids are afraid of the dentist, Dr. Floss told me, pulling something out of her drawer. But I know just the thing that will help you, AJ. Let me just put this mask on. No! I shouted. Murderers always wear masks. You wear the mask, she said, putting this clear plastic thing over my nose. This will relax you. What is it? I asked. I'm going to give you some nitrous oxide, Dr. Floss replied. That sounded scary. Don't be frightened, Dr. Floss said. It's called laughing gas. Laughing gas, eh? Well, I'm not going to laugh. No way. Nobody tells me when to laugh. I felt a little weird. Ha 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 ha. Okay, said Dr. Floss, sticking this curvy metal thing into my mouth. It's time for Mr. Thirsty, the sucking question mark. Not Mr. Thirsty, I shouted. Ha 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 ha. You're doing fine, AJ, said Dr. Floss. Now I just need to drill into that cavity a little. Not the drill, I shouted. Ha! Help! Dr. Floss stuck something in my mouth that buzzed and vibrated my whole head. It felt weird, but it didn't hurt. Actually, it was kind of fun. Now I'm going to put the filling in, Dr. Floss told me. Can I have chocolate filling? I asked. Ha 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 ha! We're just about done, AJ, she said. Ha 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 ha, I said. Take your time. A few seconds later, she took the mask off my face. You did great, AJ, said Dr. Floss. Now take a swig from this cup of green water and spit it into the little sink. Green water? I asked. Gross. How did it get green? You ask too many questions, said Dr. Floss. Don't drink it. Just swish and spit. I swished and spit. Can you put that mask back on me again? I asked. No, we're all done, AJ, Dr. Floss told me. That tooth is as good as new. Now remember, keep eating lots of candy, cakes, and chocolate, and drinking sugary soft drinks, because I want to see you back here again real soon. My mother was there playing video games. Not fair. How did my little boy do? She asked. He was very brave, Dr. Floss told her. My mom gave the receptionist her credit card. As we were about to walk out the door, Dr. Floss came running over. Oh, AJ, I forgot something, she said. Oh no, what was she going to do to me now? Have a lollipop, said Dr. Floss. Well, that's pretty much what happened. Maybe Dr. Floss will get a new car. Maybe we'll figure out how to bring headlights to school. Maybe Captain Plaque and Fluoride will fight again. Maybe Mr. Klutz will stop wearing a tutu and a blonde wig. Maybe I'll start a collection of teeny tiny toothpaste tubes. Maybe Ryan will knock out all his teeth and get rich. Maybe Dr. Floss will stop making bad dentist jokes. Maybe we'll finally get through page 23 in our math books. But it won't be easy.